Good evening, everybody. The November 12th. We're waiting for somebody up here.
Yeah, right.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. The November 12th, 2024 Liquor Board hearing is now in session. All hearings of the board are now transcribed and stored electronically. These transcripts, serving as minutes of the hearing, are accessible for review by scheduling an appointment with the board. I now make a motion that the transcript from the previous board hearing held on October 8th of 2024 be accepted as the board's members for that date. And I ask for a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So done. Mr. Praley, would you please?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. My name is Jimmy Praley, and I serve as counsel to the board. A few brief announcements before we proceed tonight. The first is that all of the commissioners before you are part-time public servants. They all have other outside interests aside from their position as a commissioner on this board. They attempt to assess conflicts of interest before each and every case, but due to the number of cases that are called and heard before the board and members of the public who can show up in support or in opposition of any given case, it'd be impossible for all of the commissioners to know whether they have a conflict of interest. So, when your case is called, if you believe that one or more than one of the commissioners has a conflict, you need to make that known at the time your case is called. Otherwise, we'll proceed forward under the impression that there are no conflicts of interest. The second announcement tonight is that the board's rules provide for that the chair, for the purposes of administrative and judicial economy, can designate board's counsel to rule on admissibility of evidence or on objections if counsel is present and objections are made to a piece of testimony or to a piece of documentary evidence that's going to be submitted. This allows us to expedite our hearings. So when your case is called, if there is opposition to any particular piece of evidence or to a line of questioning, instead of the chairman turning to me and me providing advice to the chairman and the chairman making a ruling, a lot of the times I will simply make a ruling, and my ruling will be that of the chairman and of this board. Last but not least, if you're here today on a new license or on a transfer of a license and your application is approved, that is subject to meeting all other legal requirements. Sometimes there may be an additional document that you need from a county agency or something of that nature, and the board cannot issue the new license or the transfer until that documentation is submitted to the administration and the staff. So with that, I will turn it over to our Chief Inspector, Jim Ford, who can call the first case. Inspector Ford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Praley. Okay, our first case for the evening is in the form of a decision of the board. It is in connection with Three Cheers Liquors.
Chairman, Richard Baker. My client's stuck in traffic. One of my clients be held harmless.
Sure. Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yep.
It's okay. Yep.
Sounds good.
We can do that, Mr. Bittner.
So it's just a quick announcement that Mayo Liquors, which would have been our next case, has been postponed to a later date to be determined. So we're going to move forward next with Jalapenos Restaurant, Jalapenos Inc., Elsa Serrano, President, Zanelli Serrano, Secretary Treasurer. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Wall.
Everyone willing to testify for or against, please remain standing. And if you could, raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much. You may be seated. And if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Zanelli Serrano. My address is 302 Garden Gate Lane, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
Thank you. Ma'am.
My name is Elsa Serrano. I live in 5 First Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Jonathan Wall. I represent the applicants. My address is 1910 Town Center Boulevard, Annapolis, Maryland.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Wall, we'll turn it over to you. You can present your client's case by way of proffer, testimony, or a combination of both, but the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Praley. Chairman Harris, members of the board, board council. As you know, I represent Jalapenos Inc. have for some period of time now, approximately 25 years. They operate Jalapenos Restaurant in the Forest Plaza Center, located at 85 Forest Drive, Annapolis, Maryland. The restaurant has long been owned by the Serrano family. Two members are with me right now, Elsa and Zanelli, along with Ellen Fernandez. We're here this evening because Ellen Fernandez is retiring, and that's just causing a reshuffling of the officers of the corporation. Because of Ellen's retirement, we're requesting a modification to the license that would reflect Elsa, immediately to my right, taking over the position of resident agent that's currently held by Sharon Duckett for my prior firm. And Zanelli is taking over Ellen's role as officer in the company, and that's secretary and treasurer of Jalapenos Inc. You already know both of these applications, or applicants in a sense. Elsa has been an applicant for some time. I think it's about 5 years now, 5 or 6 years. And she's been president of the company over the same period of time. Zanelli has been managing the restaurant for the last 2 years under a management agreement with the board. Operations are going to be continuing as usual with very much the same personnel in place. Again, just switching hats slightly. As the board is aware, I've submitted a variety of documentation with regard to Elsa's role, or assuming the role of resident agent. I'm going to proffer that her testimony will be substantially as follows: that she'll affirm that the application that we've submitted is true, correct, and complete, and that each of the 19 specific averments in the application are correct, and that she's read, reviewed, and signed the application before the board at this point. The testimony would also confirm that the evidence that we submitted to demonstrate her long time and current residence in the county, including her ownership of a home here in the county. We've also submitted a driver's license establishing her residence, and so on and so forth. We've also supplied, the corporation has taken the necessary acts to appoint and authorize Elsa to act as resident agent for the purposes of this license. Submit to the board that Elsa is qualified to act as a resident agent for the company. With regard to the modification of the license to reflect Zanelli Serrano as the new secretary and treasurer of the company, as well as a new licensee, in place of the retiring Ellen Fernandez, she too is available to testify, but I'm proffering that her testimony will be substantially as follows: that she would affirm that the application that we've submitted is true, correct, and complete, that each of the specific 19 averments in the application are correct, that she's reviewed and signed the application. Her testimony would further reflect, as I pointed out just a moment ago, that she's been managing the restaurant for 2 years now under a management agreement with the board. They've had no instances that I'm aware of violations, and submit that Zanelli is well qualified to be a licensee. She's certainly well familiar with the board's rules and regulations, I think, as their uninterrupted time of non-violations probably demonstrates. Zanelli and Elsa, I'm just going to ask you to verify each one of these questions for the board. Is the application that I've submitted to the board on your behalf true and accurate?
Yes. Yes.
Are all the documents that I've submitted to the board on your behalf true, accurate, and complete copies of the documents that they purport to be?
Yes. Yes.
Has my proffer of your testimony to the board been accurate and complete?
Yes. Yes.
Do you understand that you're responsible for the liquor license violations under any license modified?
Yes. Yes.
Have you received and reviewed the board's rules and regulations pertaining to the service of alcoholic beverages?
Yes. Yes.
And will you at all times have a person on the floor of the restaurant who's completed training and alcohol awareness training?
Yes. Yes.
As a final note, I note that the notice of hearing reflected that Zanelli's fingerprints hadn't been received. She has done those fingerprints. The report should have caught up to the board at this point, but if it hasn't, please let me know. But that has been taken care of, and hopefully that's no longer an issue. That's the end of my presentation. We respectfully request that the board modify the license in accordance with the application, and certainly are happy to address any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Mr. Chairman, questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wall. Do we have anything on the fingerprints back yet, or is it still in the process? Okay, well, we'll let you know the situation there. I do have a couple questions. On the present management agreement, there are 3 people. Alberto Serrano doesn't expire as far as the alcohol awareness until next year. Gonzalo Fernandez is still employed there?
He is not.
He is not?
Gonzalo Fernandez is not employed any
Okay,
longer.
is that the gentleman you said, or the person that you said earlier? Okay. All right,
Right.
we will ask you to take that off of your management agreement, if you don't mind. It's a simple letter, we'll take care of that. And the other is Zanelli. Do you have a present active alcohol awareness training certificate?
Not with me, but
Do you-
I do have, do you have the copy with you? No. Oh.
No, well, that's okay, if you don't have it with you, but do you have one that's
Yes.
active? I mean,
Yes.
it's not expired.
It's not expired.
Okay,
It's still
would
in
you
effect.
please send a copy to our office? You can make a photocopy, and then we'll take that, we'll put it on the record. We don't have a verification of that.
Yes, sir.
So we have 2 people active then, Alberto and yourself on the management agreement. And if you have anybody else that you want to put on that, that's fine. You understand what the purpose of that is.
Yes, sir.
You have a restriction that was put on way back in 2003. And the restriction says hours of operation will be from 11 a.m. to 12 midnight daily, and all alcoholic beverage must be served in conjunction with the meal, with the exception of the tapas bar and holding area. You're still aware of that restriction? You still
Yes.
abide by that restriction, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You don't want to make any changes or alterations to that? Okay, very
Not
good.
at this time.
All right. I have no further, I'm sorry, I do have one more. Do you have any other financial interest in any other establishment in the state of Maryland that sells alcohol?
No, sir.
And do you, ma'am?
No.
Okay. All right, no further questions at this time.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops? No questions. Mr. Wall, anything you want to add?
None.
Okay. Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you for everything, and I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we proceed with the change of officers and allow it to proceed, and I'm looking for a second.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Commissioner, I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
So much.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you very
evening.
much. Our next case is Phillips Seafood, The Grove, Inc. Brian Anderson, CFO, Nina Kolaski, CEO, Inspector Jeremy Fisher. This is for a transfer. Currently, Roger Schwandotner, member on behalf of Creative Food Group BWI LLC, trading as Phillips Seafood, BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport, 7060 Friendship Drive, Concourse D, Baltimore, Maryland, 21240. It's for Class SAC, which is a special airport concessionaire license. It is not restricted. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, I see that you've approached. Thank you. If you could please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm, under the penalty of perjury, that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You may be seated, and if you could, please, starting with the gentleman, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Brian Anderson, 1327 South Plymouth Court, Chicago, Illinois, 60605.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nina Kolaski. I live at 3412 Henley Street, Glenview, Illinois, 60025.
Thank you very much.
All right, you saw the last case. Understand that this is your guys' chance to present your transfer application to the board. You can do so by way of a proffer, question each other, present any evidence that you haven't previously submitted, but we'll turn the floor over to you and then we'll see if the board has any questions, okay?
Perfect, thank you. And we are also here for cervezas, so just want to repeat ourselves. So we are a multi-brand operator. Our company has been in business for about 43 years. We hold liquor licenses in the states of Minnesota, Texas, Arizona, Nevada. Did I forget one? And Virginia. So we, our business is in food and beverage in airports and railway stations. Basically, we purchase these stores from a different operator at BWI Airport, and we have been operating under an agreement with their liquor license until the transfer could take place. We believe we have all of our documents in and fingerprints completed. Our general manager at the location, Shanetta Coles, does have her certification with the liquor, yes, as well as our vice president of operations and one of our other managers. So 3 people who are on site and on staff are certified.
Mr. Chairman, any questions?
I'm going to ask the same question that I asked previously. Do either of you have any interest, financial interest, in any other establishment in the state of Maryland that sells alcohol?
No, sir.
Neither of you? Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions on this transfer?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, this is going to be quicker than the other one. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the transfer. And I'm looking for a second.
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have a second. Having a second, I'm going to put it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations. One down. You want to stay in your seat?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, let's do it again. Cerveza's Taco Garage is our next case.
Will you guys waive the reading of this case? The
I
reading
think
of the
so.
case? Perfect.
Yeah.
If you're going to waive the reading of the case into the record, save a little bit of time.
We're fine with that. Okay.
And I do need to swear you in.
Yes.
One more time, thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, and if we could rinse and repeat on the name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Nina Kolaski, 3412 Henley Street, Glenview, Illinois, 60025.
Brian Anderson, 1327 South Plymouth Court, Chicago, Illinois, 60605.
Thank you very much.
All right, same deal, different place. Go ahead and tell us about this transfer.
Okay, so same liquor license, same transfer for the Phillips Seafood located in BWI. Oh, the Cervezas, we just did Phillips. No, but it's the same license that we're using. Oh, the different license, yeah, same transfer, yeah, so same management agreement, same staff and management in place. Did you want me to repeat everything or just?
Just what you think's pertinent, and then we can have
Company
the board.
information or anything, okay. I don't have anything. Yeah, we operate in multiple states. We hold liquor licenses in Texas, Virginia, Minnesota, Arizona, and Nevada. That's about it.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
I have one question, looking the packet over. Well, we had a management agreement for an Eric Kendall. Is there Eric Kendall employed? Okay.
Sorry.
This is for Cerveza Taco Garage.
Yes, sir.
All right, we will ask you, if you don't mind, in the work in the next week or so, please contact our administration and just submit a new management agreement with anybody that you want to put on the management agreement. And you do understand the importance of a management agreement, that as licensees, you're required to be on the premises at all times, and if you cannot be, then a person whose name appears on the management agreement approved by the liquor board must be. So I'd suggest that perhaps you have new management agreements for both establishments, okay?
We'll send those over. Thank
All
you.
right. I have no further questions.
Commissioner Duffy, questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, this will be quicker than the other one. All right, thank you again for coming. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we accept the transfer. Looking for a second.
I second the motion.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Our next case,
Before you do.
Not there yet.
No. Okay, go ahead. Chief.
okay, so we are going to go back to the written decision.
Oh,
of
no,
the-
I don't think Mr. Bittner's client's here yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mr. Bittner, your client's not here yet, right? Still.
I understand she's in the security line.
Okay. We'll do one more probably and then come back.
Sounds good. Okay, in that case, we are going to go ahead with Lothian Beverage Company. Hitching Post Spirits LLC, Amy Ricker, member, Kevin Eldon, managing member, Joanna Ricker, member, Inspector John Maloney. This is for a change in class. Currently, Class A beer, wine, liquor, beer, wine tasting, growler, and Sunday license located at 5078 Solomons Island Road, Lothian, Maryland, 20711. Class D, beer, wine, liquor, entertainment restricted to multiple TVs only, growler and Sunday license. This license is not restricted. If you wouldn't mind standing and raising your right hands, I assume this is everybody who wishes to testify for or against. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Thank you.
And if you could state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Kevin Eldon, 6 President Point, Annapolis, Maryland.
Johanna Ricker, 318 Riding Ridge Road, Annapolis, Maryland.
Amy Ricker, 5 Ramar Drive, Annapolis, Maryland.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Eldon, you going to be presenting tonight?
I will.
All right, we'll turn it over to you. You can present the case by way of proper testimony, combination of both. Any documents that you want the board to consider that have not been previously submitted, you can bring those forward at the appropriate time. We'll turn it right on over to you, okay?
I appreciate it. Yes, I would like to proffer the application that we submitted, and Janet, I believe I sent you some pictures and drawings this morning. Hopefully everybody got that. So appreciate everybody's time this evening. We are in here requesting a change of class license. Currently, we have a Class A beer, wine, liquor, along with a Sunday license in beer, wine, and tasting. We opened in approximately September of 23, so we're going on about a year and a couple months of operations. When we opened, we do have a tasting license, and in the store, we have in the silo a tasting area, which is slowly growing. There seems to be more of a demand for that, so we decided that we would like to upgrade the license for on-site sales as well, thus the Class D beer, wine, and liquor Sunday sales. Entertainment, we have a couple TVs in the silo, so there's not really much entertainment per se. But we want to give the community a place to come, relax, maybe have a drink. We don't envision too much growth, but we'll see where it takes us. So we're excited about the opportunity. That's why we're here tonight, and we ask that this license be approved.
All right, thank you, Mr. Eldon. Mr. Chairman, questions?
Looking over the floor plan, you're correct, I think, in your analysis of it's a very small area that's dedicated to the bar.
Yes.
And the rest of it appears to be an unchanged area as far as the displays, shelving, and things of that nature. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And how many, I believe your new drawing shows 4 stools around the bar?
Yeah, the bar now has the tasting area is approximately 4 stools. I believe we're going to put in maybe 2 high tops with several other stools available. Again, I mean, the total capacity in that area, I think 5 is probably where we want to be, maybe 10's tight. If we expanded at some point perhaps, but right now we're going to keep it pretty minimal. So it's really more an amenity for our customers. And again, we'll see where it takes us. And you know, the object is to make money. So hopefully it works and we can expand.
Very good. Okay, you do understand if we approve it, we're approving it per this floor plan. So any changes that
Yes.
you want to make, you have to resubmit.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do any of the three of you have any other financial interest in any other alcohol beverage establishment anywhere in the state of Maryland?
So both Ms. Ricker, their husbands own and operate another liquor store in Prince George's County, but they don't actually own any interest in that entity. So,
Yeah, I mean, this is basically for the record so that we do understand where everybody sits as far as that goes. So I'm going to show that in there. I have no other questions for this establishment.
Commissioner
or
Duffy,
licensees.
any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops? Mr. Eldon, anything you want to add?
no, that's it. I appreciate everybody's time.
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we approve this change of class from an A to a D, beer, wine, and liquor. Please remember that your permits are for entertainment, but limited to multiple TVs only.
Yes.
Okay, that's very important. Okay. Looking for a second?
A second.
Thank you. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Bittner, all set?
Are they still outside, Mr. Bittner?
Passing you.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe just
Okay.
some issues in the law.
Board, why don't we call Cypress?
Yep. Okay, we're going to move forward with Cypress Severna Park. This is Cypress Severna Park Licensing LLC, Derek Fink member, Inspector Megan Harlow. This is for a new license located at 552L Ritchie Highway, Severna Park, Maryland, 21146 for a Class B beer, wine, liquor, entertainment restricted to multiple TVs only, and Sunday license. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, please approach and remain standing. Gentlemen, if you could stand for me. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. And if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Derek Fink, 8937 Sahaley Court, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Dales, if we could just get your name and address for the record really quickly, and then we'll turn the floor over to you, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Braley. Phil Dales, Dales Associates, 238 West Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
All right, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Braley. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a fairly straightforward application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor Sundays license. It's being sought at the location that was formerly Sullivan's Cove on Ritchie Highway in Severna Park. We're seeking the exact same license type that existed for that operation. And Mr. Fink is an experienced restaurant operator, and so I'll proceed from here just with his testimony to add some additional information to the materials that we submitted and that I trust you all have already read and we don't need to cover twice. Mr. Fink, you are a member of the LLC applicant listed on the liquor license application, correct?
I am.
And prior to the issuance of this license, you're going to have completed the crowd management training and obtained alcohol awareness training if it's not up to date as required by this board?
I will, yes.
Okay. And you understand the rules of this board and the regulations in the state code and the county code that relate to liquor licenses?
I do.
And can you confirm that you have looked at and discussed with me the criteria in Maryland Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Article, Section 4105-201 for a new liquor license on behalf of the LLC?
Yes.
And you understand that regardless of whether you're involved in the day-to-day operations of the business or have others carrying out those activities for you, you will be responsible for any violations under the liquor license and would be summoned to appear at a hearing that this board holds, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Could you give the board a little bit of background, just your individual experience in the restaurant industry and the service of alcohol?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been working in restaurants since I was 14, my first job, and working my way up. And I now have several restaurants currently, all of them selling alcohol. I've been in ownership with restaurants since 2010, and I think I have a pretty strong record with all the liquor boards that I sit in front of.
Thank you. This next question is a two-part question. Do you hold any licenses in Anne Arundel County? Actually on the license?
Am I on the license? No.
And what about elsewhere, though, outside of Anne Arundel County?
Outside Anne Arundel County, yes.
And what are those?
One would be the Ale House Columbia in Columbia, Maryland, and then in Baltimore City I have a Blackwall Hitch.
Delaware.
And then I have 2 locations in Rehoboth Beach, Atlantic Social and a Blackwall in Rehoboth Beach as well.
And so you've been a licensee or interested in a license for many years, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and since filing our application, it's come to your attention that one of those licenses that you were previously on did in fact have one violation years ago. Would you tell the board about that violation, please?
It did. We were wrong on our original application. There was a violation at the Blackwall Hitch Annapolis roughly 5 years ago where a bartender knowingly gave an underage person a drink.
And
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You appeared at the hearing for that violation, and what was the outcome there? And what actions did you take afterwards?
The bartender was immediately fired. He was actually he was a key team player for us. We were surprised, and he was fired, and we paid the fees that were associated with it.
Okay, thank you. Now, as to this property, can you give the board a general description and then any specifics that you think are relevant to this hearing for the space that this license will apply to?
Yeah, I mean, this is it was a restaurant here before. I think you all are very familiar with the restaurant that was here prior. Had some issues that were not related to the success of a restaurant. You know, it was just the ownership at the time. Obviously couldn't get their stuff together, lost their liquor license, and was ultimately the demise of that location. So I think there's a strong demand and clientele in the area to continue to support a restaurant.
And if granted this license, your intent is to take advantage of that demand, but smooth the operations to appear before this board less frequently than that location did. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And can you briefly describe the concept and the floor plan for the restaurant that you've built out already?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a bar. It's about 60% the size of what the former bar was. So I cut about 40% out. Much smaller than what it was, and kind of opened up the dining room, put some knee walls in, got about 164 seats, majority of them with booth seating, some banquette seatings, a couple tables, and we'll be heavy on the restaurant side. You know, I certainly think of us as more of a restaurant than a bar, with heavy on the seafood entrees, but also have some handhelds and flatbreads as well.
How about hours of operation?
Hours of operation, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., and weekends, 11.
What about your personal involvement in the daily operation of business?
I will be involved in the business as I am with all of my businesses. My general manager is a TIPS certified manager. He's a trainer, so he'll be able to train our employees as they come in as well.
And do you intend to make sure that at all times a manager or at least one of the employees present will have alcohol awareness training?
Absolutely.
Are you confident you'll be able to control the operations of this restaurant in an orderly manner and ensure there's no negative impacts on the public and surrounding community?
Yes.
All right, and you've already mentioned that you were familiar with the recent history of the prior restaurant, but just tell the board about your thoughts on seeing demand for this type of a business and this type of a license at that location.
Yeah, I mean, any of us that live up in Severna Park, Pasadena area know that there's a strong demand for restaurants, especially sit-down restaurants. We currently don't have anywhere to go and get a piece of fish or some crab cakes. Plenty of places for quick serve, but we certainly have a demand there. Ever since we took over the location and started the construction, we've gotten a ton of people coming in asking what's going on, and social media is full of buzz as well.
So based on your business experience and your specific knowledge of the community and hearing directly from the community, you are certainly confident that there is a demand for this business in the
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Fink. We'll yield there and be ready to answer any questions the board may have.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dales. Mr. Fink, this question's been answered, but it has to be asked again directly to you. Do you have any other financial interest in any other establishment in the state of Maryland that sells alcohol?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Martin, is he going to be employed at your establishment?
No, he would not be.
I'm sorry?
No, he would not be.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Duffy, questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops? Mr. Dales, anything further?
Nope, thank you.
All right. Mr. Chairman?
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we accept this new license for the Cypress. Welcome to Severna Park, and I'm looking for a second on the motion.
I second the motion.
Thank you for the second, Commissioner. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Mr. Bittner, all set?
Yes.
All right, so this is a decision of the board in connection with Three Cheers Liquors, Singh Ventures LLC, Tika Singh member, Ira Career member, Inspector Scott Montaigne. This is for a new license located at 1665 Crofton Center, Suite 19, Crofton, Maryland, 21114, for Class A beer, wine, liquor tasting, and Sunday license. Because this is a decision of the board, we won't need to swear you in, but if you could please, for the record, state your name and address, sir, starting with you.
Ranjit Hundal, 11313 Marble Ridge Road, Upper Marlborough, Maryland, 20772.
Thank you.
Alan Hyatt, counsel to Mr. Hundal. I'm at 200 Westgate Circle in Annapolis.
Good evening, Richard Bittner on behalf of the applicant, 7 Central Avenue, Glenburn.
Tika Singh, 2113 Starflower Lane, Arundel, Maryland.
Ira Career, 22301 Lost Branch Circle, Ashburn, Virginia.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Chairman?
Okay, this is going to take a moment. We spent a lot of time looking this over and thinking about this. We're here for the board's discussion and deliberation on the application for a new Class A beer, wine, and liquor with tasting and Sunday license for Three Cheers Liquors. The board has had the opportunity to independently review the transcript on our previous hearing as well as any exhibits and documents submitted by counsel. We are reviewing an application. As we are reviewing an application for a new license, the board must consider the factors and the outline by section 4.210 of the Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis article. Section 210 states, A, before deciding whether to approve an application and issue a license, a local licensing board shall consider 1, the public need and desire for the license, 2, the number and location of existing license holders, 3, the potential effect on existing license holders of the license for which the application is made, 4, the potential commonality and uniqueness of the services and the products to be offered by the business of the applicant, 5, the impact of the license for which the application is made on the health, safety, and welfare of the community, including issues relating to crime, traffic, parking, or convenience, and 6, any other factor that the local licensing board considers necessary. That was all under A. B says, the local licensing board shall deny a license application if, 1, the local licensing board determines that little I, granting the license is not necessary to accommodate the public. Next would be the applicant is not a fit person to receive the license. Next would be the applicant has made a material false statement in the application. And then next, the applicant has acted fraudulently in connection with the application, or if the license is issued, the operation authorized by the license would unduly disturb the peace of the residents of the neighborhood and the location described in the application, or Number two, for other reasons that the local licensing board considers sufficient. In analyzing the factors of 4 to 10, and after reviewing the testimony from the applicant, the opposition, as well as the expert witnesses, who testified in support and in opposition of the prospective license, I find, as a matter of fact, the following. And based on the findings, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and explain what I took into consideration. And these are the following. Close proximity to an existing Class A license, being approximately 900 feet and abutting the shopping center lot. Size of the nearest store of approximately 1,000 square feet compared to the proposed store of approximately 6,000 feet. The amount of other licensed Class A's within a short distance, there are 7 or possibly 8, some of which disapprove of the granting, and apparently some are not vocal one way or the other. The attendance of 17 individuals in opposition versus 5 that showed up in favor. A signed petition of approximately 554 in opposition versus a petition of 129 in favor. Testimony of 6 individuals in opposition versus 1 in favor. Expert testimony from Jared Patnoid, not justifying an amount of growth that may be needed versus that of John Aronson, an expert land use, and Michael Ginsberg, a real estate broker, who, by the way, has an interest in the approval of the license. Testimony from other business owners in the shopping center that there are few parking spaces as it is, and the shopping center really could not afford to support additional businesses of that size. Expert testimony that the shopping center was not considered regional. Owner of 424 Liquors as to the effects of his existing business or on his existing business. Testimony from witnesses that increase in consumption was only pertaining to liquor and not beer and wine, which was decreasing. The difference in the testimony between John Aronson, who did not refer to the shopping center as being regional, which the testimony from Michael Ginsberg called it regional, both of those testified for the applicant. The fact that 424 inquired into moving into the questionable space does not have an effect, as they were approached by the landlord with a significant increase in rent, and that's why they looked into it. And that was evidently resolved with the landlord, and that's why they stayed in place. With all that being said and considered by me, I'm going to make a motion that I do not feel that there is an additional need for a store the size of the applicants. And based on that findings, I'm going to make a motion that we deny the issuance of a license for 3 Cheers Liquors, and I'm looking for a second. Okay, thank you. I have a second. Any other or further discussion from the commissioners? Okay, I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's the decision of the board.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Our next case is Catherine's International Entertainment Group, LLC. Donovan Vassell, member, Inspector George Matthews. This is for a new license located at 3325 Corridor Marketplace, Suite 3325, Laurel, Maryland, 20724, for Class H beer, wine, liquor, entertainment, and Sunday license with outdoor dining. Anyone wishing to testify for or against may approach and remain standing. Thank you. Sir, if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Thank you very much. You may be seated, and if you could, please, for the record, state your name and address.
Donovan Vassell, 3015 Marsh Crossing Drive, Laurel, Maryland, 20724.
Thank you very much. Ms. Carter?
Good evening, and thank you. For the record, my name is Linda Carter. I'm with Carter Law LLC, and I appreciate the board's indulgence in accommodating my schedule this evening. Took me 45 minutes just to get from the Masonic Temple to the Beltway. So I apologize for the tardiness. It could not be avoided. It's my pleasure to be before you in connection with Catherine's application. And if I could, Mr. Chairman, with the board's permission, if I could do this by way of proffer?
We're fine.
Thank you. We've submitted an exhibit book to the board. We would ask that this be marked and accepted as applicant's exhibit number 1. And just very briefly, of particular importance, obviously, is the menu. First and foremost, this is a restaurant featuring Caribbean cuisine, but he's going to be adding an Italian twist, an Italian Caribbean fusion, if you will, something definitely unique. And I know you all are familiar with this shopping center because many years ago, I appeared before you in connection with the Corridor liquor license, which is now total. And if my memory serves me correct, this is actually the only sit-down family restaurant with alcoholic, assuming the board grants it, with an alcoholic beverage license in that shopping center. There's a Bob Evans that sits out in front, and there's the Panera's, but I don't believe there's any sit-down restaurant featuring certain that my client is going to be offering. He is hopefully 6 to 8 weeks away from opening. We would love to say we're going to be open by the end of the year, but you and I all know that best laid plans don't always happen, and he is prepared to go into January if he has to, but he's really trying to hit December. The landlord actually approached him about coming here. My client has a background in event planning for Caribbean-themed family events, and he's done these at venues such as Pimlico, Oregon Ridge, and Woodlawn. He did have a restaurant many years ago. It did not have an alcoholic beverage license, so this will actually be the first time that he has an alcoholic beverage license. And if I can preempt you, Chairman Harris, I can assure you nobody else has an interest in this license or the business under it, and he has no other interest in any other business in the state that has an alcoholic beverage license. This is going to become his full-time job, 60 to 80 hours a week. We've asked for dancing because of the live music. He wants to be able to bring in Caribbean-themed bands. The landlord is working with him to be able to get the outside. This used to be the old Cake Plus location. It's about 4,000 square feet. And if you're familiar with that, right next to it, there's a very large expanse of concrete that's never been used for anything. The landlord is working with my client to get this permitted through the county, and the hope is to be able to put tables, chairs, and actually be able to have some events out there as well as in the restaurant. Tab 3 is just the schematic of the shopping center, if you will. It's tab 4 where the food comes in, and I think you can see that if the quality of the food matches the pictures, this is going to be an extraordinary experience. He's spending about $800,000 to do this, and that's actually on the low end because he is the GC. So he is not only the GC, but he's there with hammer and nails. He is actively working this site to keep the cost as reasonable as he can. He's anticipating having between 10 and 15 employees, 8 to 10 in the front of the house. The bartender, the managers, and all shift leaders will be alcohol awareness certified. He's already taken the alcohol awareness class and will provide the board with a copy of his certification. He's hoping for about 500 customers a week, and he is looking at a food alcohol ratio of somewhere between 60 to 65% food, 35 to 40% alcohol. Mr. Chairman, that would be my case unless the board wants me to keep talking, which you know I can do.
Mr. Chairman,
The
questions?
rest, everybody's laughing.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Job well done on your end. Excuse me. Yeah, we're just trying to make sure we get our ducks
I
lined up,
appreciate
Ms.
that.
Carter. Thank you, Mr. Aronson. First of all, I appreciate your prelude when it comes to my question, but guess what? I'm going to ask the question not of you, but of your
Of
client.
course.
So, sir, do you have any other financial interest in any other establishment in the state of Maryland that sells alcohol?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. But thank you very much, Ms. Carter. I appreciate that.
I won't do it again now.
That's all right.
But I prepare my clients, I'll be honest.
That's fine. That's the way it should be. I think you may be aware of this, but I'm going to make sure that everybody is aware of it. Initially, you applied for dancing. That was not approved by. And changed it. Okay.
Yeah, you'll have to forgive me. I'm not familiar with, I was literally retained last week, so I don't know some of the history.
Yeah, he's approved by planning and zoning for entertainment. Dancing, so if he could, but it would have to be after the initial approval of
Okay,
this application.
that's fine. And he's not going to have dancing as such. It's really for the live entertainment. So we'll take care of that. Thank you, Mr. Aronson
Yes, thank you.
and Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. And with that being said, and as far as the outdoor service goes, there'll be no approval for outdoor service tonight. It's just there's too much pending as far as approvals by the various county agencies and departments. If you're able to get those approvals for outdoor, then you're more than welcome to come back to the liquor board and apply for outdoor service. I don't have any other questions other than that.
Commissioner Duffy, questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
Ms. Carter, anything you want to add?
No, I would respectfully request that the license be issued. Thank you.
All right.
Or approved for issuance. Let's rephrase that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
As in all approvals, if we approve it, you'll have to make sure that all of the necessary paperwork and all the approvals come into the office before you can pick up the license. But under the circumstances and making sure that you understand that outdoor service will not be approved until such time as it's reviewed by the liquor board after the appropriate departments and agencies, and also when it comes to dancing as well. So with that, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the license. Looking for a second.
Second.
I have a second. Any comments or anything from the commissioners? No?
Nope.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to call for, you got the menu, Otis, you're good.
Don't those pictures look really good?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, congratulations, lots of luck.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. We appreciate your time tonight, and I have to commend the board on its recent selection of employee bumps. You couldn't have chosen a better complement of individuals, and Judy and I have worked together forever. This has been a seamless transition, so on behalf of the practitioners and the licensees, thank you.
Well,
Made
thank
our
you.
life a lot
Appreciate it.
easier.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you
Ms.
very
Carter.
much, and
Y'all
congratulations.
have a great and safe evening.
Take care.
You too.
Thank you.
Our next case is Hyatt Place Baltimore BWI Airport, Sarbon Hotels BWI LLC, Arpan Patel, Managing Member, Arun Patel, Member, Ronak Patel, Member, Inspector Mary Deschamps. This is for a new license located at 940 International Drive, Linthicum, Maryland, 21090. It is a Class HMR, hotel, motel, restaurant license. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, please remain standing. Thank you very much, and raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And sir, starting with you, if you could give us your name and address for the record.
Arun Patel, 2450 Chelmsford Drive, Crofton, Maryland, 21114.
Thank you.
Ronak Patel, 9300 Pleasant Hill Place, Pomfret, Maryland, 20675.
Thank you.
Arpam Patel, 6064 Marshall Lee Drive, Elk Ridge, Maryland, 21075.
Thank you.
And Kelsey Longacre from Gordon Feinblatt, counsel for Sarbon Hotels BWI. My office address is 1001 Fleet Street, Suite 700, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202.
Thank you very much.
All right, Ms. Longacre, we'll turn it over to you. You can present your client's case by way of proper testimony or combination of both. If there are any documents that you haven't submitted that you want the board to be made aware of, feel free to just submit them to the staff and they'll pass them right along, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks.
I intend to proffer this evening, but of course my clients are available to answer any questions that the board has if they feel that they need to get some more information. Sarbon Hotels BWI is affiliated with Sarbon Realty, which is a company that has been in business since 2016. The individuals who are here before you today as applicants have been involved in the hotel business for quite a while, most of them having grown up in their parents' hotels. They named this entity Sarbon after the hometown where their family came from in India. Arpan, who is sitting to my right, is the managing member of this location. He is also a manager at a licensed location in Howard County. They have hotels in multiple states and a few in Maryland, and you will see us again in a few weeks. Hopefully, we're working on an application for another location that they've bought in Anne Arundel County. The applicants are either alcohol awareness certified or their certification is pending. Arpan is definitely certified. They have a management company in place. You should have the form for Claire Briner, who is the on-site manager of the location. This hotel does not have a restaurant, but it does serve finger food. But there is a bar that is located on the first floor, and the alcohol is stored near that bar under lock and key. Only the managers have access to that. There are in place policies and procedures that have been developed through Sarbon and through the management company for handling the storage of alcohol, the service of alcohol, and how employees are supposed to operate within the facility. This was a previously licensed location. The Sarbon Group bought it at the beginning of 2023. The sellers did not cooperate with renewing the license in 2023, and it expired, and they have been operating without a license during that time. So this is technically an application for a new license, but it's a location that was previously licensed. Which is a slightly odd scenario, and we recognize that. The location itself is near the airport, hence the name, and it serves quite a few folks every day. They do have event space. They'd like to be able to serve alcohol for events under the hotel license. I will note that my office realized last week that there was a typo in the initial application. Someone in my office inadvertently propagated through the incorrect address for Arun, who is the resident agent and who lives in Anne Arundel County. We emailed the board last week and provided that information as an update. I'm not sure if that has made it through to your packet. The home address was the wrong number, but the street was the correct address. I'd open up for questions if the board has any.
Mr. Chairman.
I am familiar with the place over the years, and I have no questions. I understand exactly what you're asking for, and I'm familiar with it. So I'm going to pass it on to the other commissioners.
Commissioner Duffy, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
With that being said, I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and accept the new license. Looking for a second.
I second the motion for the new license.
Thank you very much. Have a second. Any comments or any further? Okay. With that being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations. Lots of luck. And hope it works well for you.
Thank you. We'll see
Thank
you
you
in a
so
few
much.
weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next case is Makina Bar and Grill. Makina Lucker LLC, Mawuto Deganon, member, manager, authorized person, Inspector Scott Montaigne. This is for a new license located at 1641 State Route 3 North, Suite 100, Crofton, Maryland 21114. It's for Class B beer, wine, liquor, entertainment, restricted to multiple TVs only, and Sunday license. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, if you could please approach and remain standing. And raise your right hands, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And sir, if you could start by giving us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is John Emmerich, and I'm currently residing at 4464 McIntosh Lake Avenue, Sarasota, Florida.
Sir?
My name is Mawuto Degeno, 15526 Simons Berry Way, Upper Marlboro, Maryland 20774.
Thank you.
Good evening, Kelly Kylas from the law firm McNamee Hosey on behalf of the applicant, Makina Lucker LLC, trading as Makina Bar and Grill.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here. I'm just going to kind of give the lay of the land, Ms. Kylas, because we have Mr. Emmerich here who's testifying in opposition. Mr. Emmerich, we're going to allow Ms. Kylas to present her client's case in chief before the board. The board will then have the opportunity to ask questions of Ms. Kylas and the prospective licensee. Then we will allow you to speak in opposition of the license which you've signed up to do here tonight. The board allows 2 minutes of testimony for you to be heard, and then if Ms. Kylas has any questions, she could certainly follow up and ask. We'll then allow her to provide a bit of a rebuttal case. Does that all make sense for the lay of the land?
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. Ms. Kylas, go right ahead.
Thank you. And the same rules apply that I may present a combination of...
Combination both proper, yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. I will do a combination,
Okay.
So you can hear a little from me and a
Perfect.
little from my client. It's my
Perfect.
privilege this evening to represent Mr. Deguinon and Makina Bar and Grill. This is an application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor plus a Sunday permit and entertainment license for a new restaurant that will be located in Crofton. It's the Chesley Shopping Center, if the board is familiar. The proposal for this restaurant is a West African cuisine restaurant, of which I believe there are none within the boundary of Crofton. I'm not sure exactly how many there are in Anne Arundel County, but I believe there aren't terribly many. So it's a new restaurant for a particular ethnic cuisine that the community at large does not have much of in our community. Mr. Deguinon, this will be his first time opening a restaurant. He has never held a license for the application that we have submitted. There are no changes to that application. He has been provided and reviewed all the rules and regulations of the board, as well as all of the laws in our state for the sale of alcoholic beverages. He understands his obligations, understands the obligations of his new business, both in terms of upholding the law and his obligations with regard to this board and accepting any summons should one unfortunately occur. Mr. Deguinon, his background is as a security, or excuse me, an IT government contractor. He does maintain a valid security clearance with the federal government, which I hope would be of interest to this board to speak to his credibility and integrity when it comes to his duties and obligations under the laws for the sale of alcoholic beverages and his obligations to this board. The bar and grill is going to be just simply a restaurant and a bar and grill, perhaps a sports bar-esque themed. There will be multiple televisions as part of the license application, but no other entertainment, of course. He is expecting to have about 12 employees. He's already hired 2 chefs to work with him in this restaurant venture, and he will be spending a lot of time on site managing the restaurant. He has spent a significant amount of time, as well as his own money, investing in this venture to the tune of $220,000, and is hoping that construction will be completed pretty in the very near future. Mr. Degwinon is also familiar with the other establishments within this shopping center, and I will proffer to the board that the menu at the proposed McQueen Bar and Grill is very different from either of the other restaurant establishments within that shopping center, as well as any other neighboring establishments. We did provide to the board a week or so ago our exhibits. Included in those exhibits was not just a layout of the new restaurant, but also the menu, which demonstrates what will be offered at this new restaurant. As the board can see, these are unique menu items. There's no overlap with any of the neighboring restaurants. In addition, there is, given the location in this particular shopping center, I would proffer to the board that there is certainly no reason why the operation of this restaurant would disturb the peace and the quiet of the neighborhood or be any problem whatsoever to the community. I believe those are all of the points I wish to make for the board. If you have any questions for my client or myself, we are happy to answer any questions.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Think of a question that might be relevant, but I do want to make sure that the entertainment that your licensee is requesting is for multiple TVs only. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And I did get a chance to look at your submittals and your photos and your menu and so forth. I have no further questions at this point.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
All right. Mr. Emmerich, we're going to give you 2 minutes to provide your testimony. Let's get the clock queued up here. We have received the letter that you had submitted previously to the board that has become a part of the record. So anything that you would like to tell the board, you will have 2 minutes to do so as soon as we're ready. We ready? You ready, Mr. Emmerich?
Yes,
Go
yes,
ahead.
sir. Hi, my name is John Emmerich, and I own Monty's Place, which is located in the same shopping center in the Crofton Woods. We are a restaurant. The establishment that is being proposed to you tonight to get a liquor license is less than 50 feet away from my front door. More importantly, they're asking for an off-sale license, as I understand it. There's a liquor store less than 50 feet, 30 feet to be exact, as I walked it off today, from his front door. Less than 100 yards, there's a liquor store on the corner that used to be Jasper's, now it's Fat Boys. Fat Boys is a bona fide liquor store. So in essence, you'll have 3 liquor establishments in the same proximity within less than the area of a football field. Fat Boys also is a restaurant. We don't compete with them, they don't compete with us. When we first started 27 years ago, it was Jasper's, and we got together and decided we won't offer what you offer, so there's no competition. One of the concerns that my employees and my customers have expressed to me is the traffic. The building that we're in was originally built for an offices. When we bought the restaurant, the business, it had already been Happy Days for several years. During the past 27 years, there have been so many different times when Fat Boys Jasper's has had an event where people have parked out on Route 3 North. They parked on the parking lot. His establishment is going to be right on the corner, right on the edge. There's very little parking there, so when people come around the corner, if it's a delivery truck, like the beer delivery for the liquor store or me, they're not going to be able to make it. They're not going to be able to make that turn if any cars are parked there. Hence, we tell our customers, don't park there. It got to a point, and it will get to a point when Fat Boys has an event and I have an event, This parking is at a premium, and there's my 2 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Couch, do you have anything you want to state in rebuttal?
In rebuttal, I would just reiterate the points that I made below or before. The concept for this restaurant is very different from the concept of Monty's Place. Monty's Place is a billiards and a pool hall. It has a regular, what I would call it, like burger bar menu, if I'm not mistaken. It's very different from the menu that is proposed for this new restaurant. So in terms of competition, you're looking at two very, very different concepts. Somebody who's going to a billiards hall is not also going to be going to this restaurant. Or, best case scenario, somebody goes and has their West African themed dinner at Makina Bar and Grill and then goes and plays billiards afterwards. So to the extent there's an issue with competition, we respectfully disagree with that argument. In terms of parking, I believe that can be solved, and that's, I believe, more of a zoning issue than anything, and I don't believe that would be sufficient to give this board any grounds to reject or deny the approval of this license. This is a license for, it is just a Class B beer, wine, and liquor plus Sunday permit license. We have presented sufficient evidence through the application and the exhibits that we submitted, which I believe the board has accepted. If not, I respectfully ask that you accept those exhibits as part of our case this evening, that this is a proper license. It's a valuable license. It will be a benefit to the community. It's necessary to the public to further our goals in terms of expanding the horizons and offerings of our international cuisine here in Anne Arundel County and in Crofton. Our application demonstrates that Mr. Deguinon is a proper and fit person to hold this license and has promised through his application and through my proffer to uphold all of the rules that this board requires. And for all of those reasons, we ask that the board respectfully approve the license application this evening.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman.
I think I understand everything that you said, sir, and appreciate your input. It seems to me that we have three different types of establishments here in this shopping center. Yes, there are three, and they are relatively close. And from what I've heard, there was a kind of an agreement as to the type of cuisine you serve at Monty's, as Fat Boys serves at their location. And they do appear to be evidently different, and that's why you've been able to exist in the same shopping center without too much trouble, which is great to hear. I do have one question, if I may. Do you have any other financial interest, and everybody's heard this all night long, in any other licensed liquor establishment in the state of Maryland?
No.
Okay, I just want to get that on the record. I have no further questions.
Commissioner Duff, do you have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Anderson, I want to ask you if you have communicated with Mr. Have you communicated with the client of
The answer is no, sir. I've had no contact whatsoever with him at any point in this procedure.
No, and I asked because of the fact that you had communicated with the owner of the Crab Shack.
I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you.
What's the?
Fat Boys?
Fat Boys.
Fat Boys, okay. I don't understand the question.
No. The question was, the initial question was, have you ever communicated with the client?
At Fat Boys? Yes, sir.
Yes.
When we got there, it was Jasper's. We knew Jasper's before we bought the place. When Fat Boys, we went over and we talked to management over there. We share the parking lot. The parking lot, contrary to what she said, gets filled very quickly and very much. I've seen it multiple times with two establishments, even with Jasper's or Fat Boys. I keep saying it. With Fat Boys, they have a huge parking lot, but it still overflows into our section. We have events. Tonight's Tuesday night, we have pool league. We're not a billiard hall or a restaurant. We have food. We have entertainment. We've had gatherings. We've had birthdays. We're not just a pool hall. We have pool tables there. We're licensed to have those. The problem that I have is that I've seen it too many times where people have parked on northbound Crane Highway, parked on the grass. I put no, if you park here, you will be towed signs up with the permission of the landlord. It doesn't matter the cuisine. Fat Boy's cuisine is different than mine. Mine is different than what she is proposing for that restaurant. He's got a bar. I have a bar.
Well, sir, I think you've already answered Commissioner Duffy's question. It was, did you communicate?
I'm
so
sorry.
I think we just need to make sure that we kind of tailor our focus. Yes, ma'am.
If I may
Sure.
assist in answering this question or provide my client's side to the answer to that question, Commissioner Duffy, and I appreciate it very much. My client did go over to Monty's Place last week with a copy of the menu and tried to speak with Mr. Emmerich. He was unfortunately not there, but Mr. Digwenon did leave a copy of the proposed menu with, I believe it to be the manager, who was on duty at the time and since has had no communication whatsoever from anyone at that restaurant. But Mr. Digwenon did make a good faith effort after we received the letter of the intention to be here in opposition today, to make some overture to go speak to Mr. Emmerich, and he did in fact speak to a manager and leave
I also left my email address so he can get back to me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So the attempt was made.
Yes.
Commissioner Snoops, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. After consideration of all the factors, yours, sir, as well as you and your clients, I really is, I'm having a difficult reason why I would not allow this license. And I say that, what was previously in that square footage, I'm sure had a certain amount of cars. Right, and they were probably daytime more than
That's correct,
evening.
sir.
But they were parking spaces allotted by planning and zoning for establishments. We also have 3 different venues as far as the food goes. And I think that I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we go ahead and approve the new license for this establishment. And I'm looking for a second.
I second.
I'll have a second. Anything anybody would like to say before? Oh, okay, I'm looking for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You have your license, sir. Lots of luck, and I do hope it works out for everybody.
So do I. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
You too.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, our final case of the evening is for Dilgaff's Pub. Mr. Hurdle, would you agree to waive the reading?
Yes.
So we obviously have a few people here who are in favor of this transfer, and we have a few people who are against. So before we begin, I'd like to take a head count of both sides. So when I ask you to, if you could please stand to be visible, raise your hand if you're either for or against, and we will take that count. So right now, If you are in favor of the transfer of this license, please stand and be counted.
We're going to need to get 2 or 3 counts to make sure we have accuracy.
I've got Sean on it. Okay, sir in the white shirt, could you sit down for me just so I can see behind you? Or, yep, okay. Thank you. I got 41.
Wow.
All right.
That's nice.
So 41 in favor. If you are now against this transfer, please stand. (11) excluding the minor. Okay, you may all be seated.
Now, and before we get started, has everybody had the chance to fill out the sign-in sheet that was sitting out there? It's really important. Okay. So we'll either pass it around or we'll put it back out in the hallway for everybody to sign. While we did get a head count, it's extremely important that everybody fills out the sign-in sheet if they're here in support or in opposition, and to indicate specifically if they're here in support or in opposition, and also to put their address down. That's how we, while we do have a head count, 41 in favor, 11 against here tonight, that's how we get everybody's name and address, which really prevents us from having to spend the entire evening having everybody put their name and address on the record. Okay? So make sure you fill out that sheet. I'm sorry, Inspector Ford, did I jump the gun here?
No, you're good. I actually just need to swear everybody in.
Okay.
So I apologize, but if everyone who has any plan on testifying for or against this evening could please stand up once again and raise your right hands.
Please keep in mind, this is only if you plan on testifying, if you plan on saying something. If you don't plan on saying anything, just sit down. But if you plan on it, please stand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, quiet, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And when you approach, we'll get your name and address for the record one at a time. Thank you very much. Mr. Braley?
Sure. Mr. Hurdle, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Hurdle, I know you know the lay of the land, but for those who haven't been here before, the process by which we hear a transfer hearing is very precise and specific. A couple of things before we get started. Number one, if you are going to appear to testify, you need to make sure that you keep your voice up, you slow down. Everything that's said in this room is being recorded, and our stenographer is going to kill somebody if everybody is talking over each other. It's very, very difficult to keep an accurate record. So make sure you keep your voice up when you're testifying. No because that doesn't translate very well into a record. And just answer the question with yes, no if something is asked of you. When you are called to testify, keep in mind that much like the previous case, the board is going to limit your testimony to 2 minutes. There are 52 people who are here either in support or in opposition. So if everybody wants to testify, that's going to take a lot of time tonight. If you come forward and you do want to testify, make sure you're not repeating what somebody has already said. Once it is said, it's on the record, the board understands, and the board will digest that information before making its determination tonight. Do not feel the need to repeat what somebody else has previously said. So the way that the case will go is Mr. Hurdle will present his client's case first. Then the board will ask his client and him questions if they have any. Then we will hear from the members of the public. We will hear from the members of the public in support first. Then we will hear from the members of the public in opposition second. Then Mr. Hurdle will have the opportunity to present a rebuttal case based on the testimony in opposition to the transfer. Keep in mind that we're here on a transfer license tonight. This is not a new license. So the board's rules and regulations are very specific on what the board can consider in deciding whether or not to approve a transfer of a license. Just wanted to give everybody the lay of the land. If anybody has any questions moving forward when the appropriate time comes, please feel free to address those to me, not to the commissioners, as I serve as board's counsel. You can't have an ex parte communication with the commissioners. Mr. Hurdle, ready to proceed?
Yes, may I be seated, please?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Abraham Hurdle, on behalf of the applicant, S&S Business. With me to my left is Ms. Smith, who is the applicant licensee. This location at 726 London Town Road, this is for a transfer of an in-location D license that has existed as far back as at least the 90s. I did have a chance to look at, I guess, some results of a previous protest from about 27 years ago, which I'll get to in a moment.
Mr. Hurdle, I apologize for interrupting you, but could we get the applicant's address for the record, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's 3951 Patuxent River Road, Harwood, Maryland, 20776.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a Class D application, beer, wine, liquor, dancing, and Sunday license. Before we get into whether the applicant is a fit and proper qualified person for a transfer, I did want to just take note that I had a chance to review any number of letters in support and in opposition from kind of different sides here today. I think there was also a petition submitted which had, at least as of a few minutes ago, about 396 people in support as well. Despite what I appear to believe at least is overwhelming support, I did want to take note that we did look into all of the concerns from the various letters of opposition, which seem to in large part center around similar things mentioned in this 1997 order, the front letter of which is written by our dear friend Judy Hagner, I think. All of the concerns and things that the board ordered in 1997 are going to be addressed as part of my client's assumption of control if the license is approved. One of the things I submitted to the board was my client's tip certification, which I did note to her does seem to expire, I believe, in about 7 months, so she will be renewing. She also is going to have an extensive staff that has experience. She has about 10 years herself in the bar restaurant industry. She has several close family members that have experience managing and operating bars. The former owner is going to be helping and assisting her. One of her good friends is a former liquor license inspector, which brings me to my next issue, which is that my understanding is there was an oversight or an error on the application. I think we indicated that the owner of the property was the former owner of the entity, whereas my client did purchase the property in 2021. So she is both the business and building property owner. And I think that just kind of slid through because it was carried over from a previous application. So she is the controlling property owner. I think S&S Business owns both the business and the property as of today. Addressing these issues from the 1997 order, one of the things I submitted was an extensive site review and changes. My client plans to spend about $300,000 renovating the interior of the space. This will include significant sound insulation, new doors, new windows. The shell is going to be maintained. It's not going to be expanded, but it should be ultimately a pristine and modern establishment when she is done. All the controls requested in terms of parking signs, addressing issues that the neighbors had previous concerns on will be addressed going forward. I've talked to her about holding monthly community meetings, and once they're up and running, I anticipate I will be attending more than a handful of those once things get started. It's something that I've encouraged her to do because it will help prevent any confusion. She's looking to have this be a neighborhood bar. She believes that the best way to success is having people that are in walking distance that can come by 2 and 3 times a week, get a burger, get a beer, be out of there for $20. It's cheaper than Uber Eats. Beyond her experience, she is tip certified. She is looking to be on location just about every moment they're open, at least initially, until she can find staff that she will get approved with the liquor board. All staff handling alcohol will be tips trained or alcohol awareness certified. At the moment, the proposed hours are 11 till 2 every day. We don't anticipate that's what they're really operationally going to be. We think those hours are going to get drastically reduced in time. Wednesdays maybe tend not to be midnight days. It's just a situation where as business plays out, they will probably cut the hours back significantly. My guess is Mondays will be a day that they end up closing, something along those lines. In terms of live entertainment and music, it's been a part of this establishment since it opened. They used to have jazz nights. They plan to continue to do that. Live music will end typically no later than 10 o'clock during the week and 8 o'clock on Sundays. Again, it's something that we plan to work with the community to tweak for everyone's benefit over time to make sure that everyone, it's a neighborhood bar. We want everyone to be happy. If the neighborhood's happy, they'll do better. Everything will work out better. We have had a chance to speak to the head of the local London Town Community Association, and it's my understanding that I think they're here unless traffic got the better of them, and they are in support as one of the different, many of the 41 people, although I think I signed, so maybe there's 42 because I didn't stand, sorry. Again, we are in support of these restrictions and plan to abide by them in every possible way. I think that most of them have been addressed previously with previous operators, but we do plan to take an aggressive look at those issues going forward. My client does have no other interest in any other alcoholic beverage institutions. One of the things we submitted was an IRS approval. She is licensed to practice before the IRS as a tax preparer. She's also a licensed real estate agent, tip certified. She seems to collect these certifications that indicate that she is a trustworthy individual, at least in the state of Maryland at this point. At this point, I would turn it over to the board to see if the board has any questions, and we would entertain people to testify both in support and in opposition, and we'd be happy to address anyone in opposition.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hurdle. Mr. Chairman, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Fairley. Thank you, Mr. Hurdle. Is that better? Yeah. Thank you both. Just a couple preliminary questions. We talked about your hours, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Live music stopping at 10, I believe, during the week. And what was the weekend hours?
I think it's Sundays, it'll be 8. And again, we don't plan on having live music every day. It's just a situation where we anticipate the schedule at the moment. We haven't worked out whether Wednesdays or Thursdays are better nights, so there's a good chance it'll only be 2 or 3 times a week.
Do you have a proposed target date to open this establishment?
We plan to get the license transferred over immediately because we've had some hiccups this past spring, getting the renewal signed off by the previous and current operator. So we want to get the license moved over immediately, which allows my client to sign that renewal going forward, which should help things a little bit. Then the process will be to renovate at that time.
Do you think we're looking at 1 year or less? Or?
Oh, I think well under a year. My anticipation is renewals are so strict in Anne Arundel County, so I wouldn't want to say 4 months, even though they have a contracting company that they've already talked to and that they're working with closely. 4 months is a very snug timeline, so we don't want to have there be inspection issues that could prevent some sort of renewal concern. Our goal is to, again, transfer it over. We think 4 to 5 months is our goal. We would like to be open for the summer.
And because this is a transfer, you do realize that all the restrictions that were put on this establishment, both in 1991 and in 1997, come along with that license.
We welcome the restrictions.
Well, no, I'm just saying you do understand that. Ms. Smith, I'm
Yes.
really talking to you as specifically. I want to make sure you do understand that.
Yes.
And you do. And from the photographs and the information that I have, it looks like some of those restrictions have fallen to the side or haven't been followed through on of late. So they would have to be addressed.
Understood.
Absolutely.
Along with any and all department approvals, whether it be inspections and permits, fire marshal, health department, whoever. I just want to make sure you understand that.
I do.
Okay. I have no further questions at this time.
Commissioner Duffy, do you have any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
Okay. All right, so at this point, we'll start to hear from the members of the public who wish to testify in support of this application. If you're here in support of the application for transfer and you wish to speak, please come forward. We can get your microphone turned on over here and to my left, and we can make sure that you put, Chief Inspector Ford's going to ask for your name and address when you come up. First person who would wish to testify, to the farthest seat to my left here, up. Yep, go right ahead. Come on, sir. Yeah, no, you're great, you're great. Go right here and make sure the red light is on the microphone. Do you see it? Just go ahead and tap.
There it is.
we go.
There it is.
All right, just give us your name and address for the record. You have 2 minutes to speak. Clock is right over here, okay?
All right. My name's Sean Smith. I'm actually the brother of Shannon. So I've actually been operating bars in this county for probably 15, 18 years.
Mr. Smith, I'm sorry, could you state your address for the record, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 8715 Baskerville Place, Upper Marlboro, Maryland.
Great.
20772.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm looking to be heavily involved. I go live music, dancing, time schedules. I mean, our Pasadena's a dusk till dawn live music, so I've done through all that. Health department inspections like that, I've been through them all. Like I said, I've got about close to 30 years in the business, about 15 years as managing. And yeah, I'm all for it. I think it'd be great. It's a place I hung out when I lived it right there off Harvey Grace. I used to go up there and hang out all the time. So we're just looking to have, you can't lose the pub. So that's really all I got, unless someone's got any questions for me.
Nope, just public comment. Won't be questioning. I said it's just public comment. There won't be any questions. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And sir, you can step over to the microphone and state your name and address for the
My
record,
name
please.
is Brad Bergman. I was here for 91. I don't, somehow I missed 97. I don't, but I remember 91.
Mr. Bergman, could you please state your address for the record?
734 Shore Drive.
Thank you.
I'm literally 150 feet from the pub. If I walk through my backyard and across Oak Bluff Road, I'm in the parking lot. I'm in favor of it with caveats or restrictions. Number one is the 2 p.m. I would like to see a midnight ending, okay? That's been mentioned already. Number two, the sound levels coming through the walls from any bands. Number three, I remember at one point the parking lot was being monitored by the previous owner with a decibel meter. Number four, loitering in the parking lot at any time, I'm not really in favor of. Number four, at midnight, you get in your car and leave. That's all I'm asking for. If that's all there, I'm in favor. And I'm 150 feet away. So. That's it.
Thank you.
All right, sir, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Kerry Muse, 1132 Shore Drive. I've been a resident I'm speaking for, and I've been a resident of the community for nearly 40 years. I'm a businessman in the community, and I wanted to say something about it's not a bar, it's a pub. It's a family pub, and it's not a place where you're not afraid to take your wife, you can take the kids, you can take them and have pizza on Friday night, whatever you want. And it's something that it's a community thing. If you see these people here tonight, because they're here to support this community affair, because it's been part of our community. It's been there for a long time. And the music, like on Wednesday night, they have a jam, and where everybody comes, and at least a dozen amateur musicians are there playing. And some of the ones that bring their kids that are learning to play the guitar, their parents come with them. And they get to grow up here. So this is it's not just a bar, it's a pub, it's a family pub. And I'm speaking for the group here. We want this in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi,
let's try
I'm
to,
Karen Porter, 408 Silver Run Road, Edgewater.
sorry, before you get started, let's try to hold applause or any type of commentary, just because it interrupts the process. Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, and I'm a member of the London Town Property Owners Association, and I'm also very involved with the association. I'm on the event committee. The pub would be a great place for us to be able to work and have community events. The pub has already done that in the past, not so much with us too much, but it has done it in the past with Special Olympics. They put on fundraisers there. They also do that just with the community, but we're hoping that we can build an establishment with them, a relationship with them to have more of these type of community events. So we're in favor of it. All right?
Thank you.
My name's Daniel Barnett, live at 800 Shore Drive, London, Edgewater, Maryland. I'm literally 82 steps away from the bar. You're going to hear some noise today about people saying it's going to be too loud. The lady plans on rebuilding the building. It'll be well insulated. The music won't be as loud going out of the bar as it is now, as old as it is. I don't have to repeat everything that Carrie said. I'm with that. It is a pub. It's not a bar. With that said, I hope that she's able to get her license transferred today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Holly Prinz, 1619 Fullerton Road, Edgewater, Maryland. My parents came into the neighborhood in the early 2000s, and my sister and I followed about 10 years later. Every time we used to come and visit, me and all of our neighbors would walk to the pub and hang out, and it was just something that our neighborhood did because our neighborhood is like family. We support each other, we love each other, and the pub was a place to go to dance, laugh, have fun. We just enjoyed having it there, and we've missed it for the last 4 years. Our family and our neighbors really love to have it back. My parents would be here, but my mother had surgery yesterday. So we are in for of having the pub back and having that community and the live music and the local artists and trivia night and play some pool and some darts. You know, it was just a fun family establishment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Robert Blair, previous owner of the pub, and I would just like to say that...
Mr. Blair, let's get your address, please. Yeah.
4254 Blair Lane, Harwood, Maryland, 20776. As far as the noise concerns, there was always an app on my phone. If we could go outside and walk around the outside of the building, for any concern that was over certain decibels, it was always brought down at that particular time. Or one of the neighbors would come over and say, "Hey, Robbie, there's an issue here." We would have the music turned down. And then that particular building, I don't know if the board knows about this, but at one time it was the fire department for London Town. And then it was, one part of that was torn down. Another part was built, which is still there. And then it was the post office. And then it was the post office and grocery store. And then it became a pub. And the previous owner that I bought it from, and we got it in the late 90s, he was not a good manager. And we tried to do the best that we could possibly do with a small building, and we brought some of the best music to Maryland. I mean, we would have people from West Virginia come in for bluegrass on a Sunday, and then we've had Wednesday night, people that have played for the Coasters, Drifters, Temptations, Peaches and Herb. They would come in and play music there. And everybody in town would come there. And mom and dad would bring their little kids in. And now they're some of the best musicians around. And it was a family place. And I would just love to see get transferred. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Patricia Alberti. I live at 1509 London Town Court, so I'm just at the end of the street, right around the corner. I drive past the building every day. My husband's father bought our property in 1969, and his family moved there in 1970, and they've been watching the pub change over the years, and I would love to see the neighborhood pub come back. The new owners bought the pub in good faith, and I think they should be allowed the opportunity to improve the facility and make it back to what it was in the good old days. I also have heard folks talking about the local musicians, and a couple of weeks ago I was at another restaurant in Edgewater, and a fellow who plays guitar came in, and he was asking the restaurant owner if he could come and play for her, and she already had too many musicians. And so I think having this facility to bring in more musicians will be just another place for those people that have those wonderful skills to demonstrate them to the public. So, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Rhodes, 525 Shore Drive, Edgewater, Maryland. In 1997, I testified on behalf or in favor of the pub's license transfer. At that time, I was the president of the London Town Property Owners Association. I'm here today as the past president, and I want to reiterate my support. I frequented the pub. I saw what happened during that time period from 97 until the time it closed this time. It is in fact a family affair for at least the people in appreciate a favorable. Thank you.
Anybody else like to testify in support? Okay, now let's get the individuals who are here in opposition. And you all just saw how this works, so make sure you approach one by one. Name and address when you get to the microphone, one at a time, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you, guys.
Sure.
I did submit an email, but I have some documents that I'd like for the board to see tonight.
It's going to be up to the chairman.
I'm sorry, what was that?
He's got additional documents.
May I ask why they weren't submitted in a timely fashion as required?
They are supplemental to what I'm trying to say today, which is different from what I emailed Chairman. I actually filled out a Privacy of Information Act on behalf of Mr. Arundel and was able to get some different information, which I'm here to talk about tonight.
So do you have a copy for me?
If it's permissible by then.
Well, I'd like to review before I object.
Okay.
Thank you for being patient. As I feel, and I spoke to our attorney, it's really difficult for us to accept these when we have a cutoff date, but you'll have an opportunity, even though it's only 2 minutes, to be able to say what you want that perhaps is on that.
Sure.
And it wouldn't be fair to those other people, and there were others who wanted to submit after the 5-day cutoff.
If the board would like
So with that
that.
being said, we're going to say no.
Thank you,
Okay.
Chairman. If the board would like a copy of anything I'm about to talk about afterwards, I have it here. Thank you. I'm an active duty, first of all, my name is Danny Stewart, and my address is 730 London Town Road, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037. I'm an active duty Navy sailor stationed permanently here. I live directly next door to the pub, and when that pub was open, it was impossible to go to sleep at night. The overall quality of life was not good when the slot bar was around. The pub closed in May of 2020, and since then, zero business has been conducted at the pub, and it's falling apart. In 2021, the licensee, Ms. Blair, vacated, the premises was sold, and under Rule 215, the licensee had 10 days to apply for the transfer. The purpose of this rule is to avoid a zombie license. It is very unclear why the transfer has been delayed for several years. Per Rules and Regs 211D, no alcoholic beverage license in Anne Arundel County, Maryland may be transferred unless the owner of it has actively engaged in the sale of alcoholic beverages as authorized by the license within 1 year prior to the date of application for transfer. Any attempted renewal or transfer of a dormant license not in accordance with the provisions of this section is null and void. It is presumed that actively engaging in the sale of alcohol must be a legal sale. For the record, there is no legally recognized business at this point and hasn't been since 2021. See Exhibits A, B, C, D, and E. Ms. Blair terminated her sales and use tax license number 138-11282 on February 28, 2021, making it impossible to collect and pay sales tax from here forward, a required mandated by the Liquor Board. On March 23, 2023, she terminated her LLC and dissolved her certificate of good standing, making it impossible to renew her liquor license in 2023 and 2024. To be clear, the London Town Pub has not been able to conduct legal business. For the last few renewals, it's lacked the failed documentation to enable the sale of alcohol. I strongly urge the board to look at the legitimacy of this business and the new name Dilligats, which is a common name that stands for Does It Look Like I Give a F, when considering to transfer such a detrimental liquor license to our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, can you step back? Sure. Thanks.
Good evening to the board. These are extra copies of paperwork already submitted. Do you want them or no?
Well, we need your name and address first.
Oh, you need my name and address. Okay, all right. I'm going to stay. Sitting feels weird. I'm Sarah Larson. I live at 730 London Town Road, Edgewater, Maryland. Would you care for these extra copies?
If those were submitted in advance, they've already been part of the record.
Fantastic.
And the board has them.
Okay, great. Very good.
Thank you
I'm
for
here
bringing
today
them
to
up.
call attention to several code violations to the former London Town Pub. I am, for the record, the next door neighbor. My bedroom window is 25 feet from the pub. The pub, along with my home, are outside of the aforementioned LTPOA, of which several people have spoken this evening, and firmly seated in the Oak Bluff neighborhood. So just to be very clear, the pub is outside of the London Town Property Owners Association's dominion. Proximity of the pub to our home is in direct conflict with license classes from the Liquor Board rules and regulation, and I'll read that verbiage pertaining to the dancing special license into the record. Dancing Permit 11-1102D, the permit authorizes the holder to provide music, dancing, and other legal forms of entertainment if located at least 100 feet from all residentially zoned property. So, for the record, my home is within that 100 foot, and there are 5 homes within 100 feet of the pub, 5. Several of them having young children who love to play in their front yards and enjoy Oak Bluff, the street of which the pub is a part of the neighborhood. The initial transfer that was scheduled for August 10th, 2021 was then postponed. I reached out to zoning, curious how this permit had remained unfettered and unchallenged. Mr. Dahlgren came out to survey the site from OPZ and submitted his findings to Ms. Sia, who penned a letter to this board. The letter is dated December 13th, 2022, and it references zoning code 18-10-104, which reinforces that 100-foot separation. And Ms. Sia closes the letter. I'll just read the final sentence of her letter. A zoning certificate of use will not be issued for the pub if the use includes a special dancing license or other special licenses in violation of 18-10-104. No license of use means no business. So it's not only, again, my home, which was built in 1930, that's within that 100-foot rule. There's a whole bunch of new families that moved in since that bar has been closed. And they have young children who enjoy playing with each other and bring so much joy to our neighborhood. And it breaks my heart imagining those kids not having a safe neighborhood to play in. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good
Good evening. My name is Mary Kay Robertson, and I live at 7574 Tour Drive in Easton, Maryland. And I'm here to, I am a past resident. I live 3 doors down from the pub. And I'm also speaking on behalf of my husband, Paul Colseth, who couldn't be here tonight. He is on business travel. We lived on Oak Bluff in Edgewater, 3 doors down from London Pub for 23 years. After the Blairs took over the pub, the quality of life deteriorated and it caused us a great deal of stress. They had no respect for the interaction with the local neighbors who were most affected by the noise and disrespect to the neighbors. It is incomprehensible how this pub could ever obtain a license for late opening and live music, considering the proximity to the neighbors. This often became a gathering point after other bars had closed. The Blairs were supposed to adhere to the rules set out under Michael S. Patty's order dated April 28, 1997, as agreed by the commission, but they did not adhere to any of the rules. We request that the liquor board review the rationale and limit the hours to 10 p.m., as appears to be common for other restaurants and pubs in the middle of residential areas, such as the Point in Arnold. This is one of the main reasons why we moved, is because of the pub. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Douglas McWaters. I live at 745 London Town Road, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037. I moved into my house, bought it January 2020. It's been peaceful. It's been great. The pub's been closed. We don't have 2 o'clock buttheads driving up and down the street, running into people's cars, running off their lawns, doing all kinds of stuff because nobody can control what they do once they leave the pub. We have to live with it. I don't like having to have my sleep woken anytime, much less 10 o'clock, midnight, 2 o'clock. The pub being closed has been the best thing that I've had to enjoy for the last 4 years. I've been at this property since 1976. My stepfather's father owned it. My stepfather owned it. My uncle bought it. For 44 years, I've been involved in this property. And the fact that that pub's closed, it has been a blessing in disguise. Nobody has ever been able to control it. It's in a residential neighborhood, surrounded by houses that has no business being a bar. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Chris Mangan. I live at 1443 Oak Bluff Road in Edgewater, 21037. The pub is on an Oak Bluff lot in a residential community. The Class D license was issued in 1995. Nearest and heretofore empty lots were starting development. They weren't yet fully occupied. Initial residents, some of which had young children, might not have known to comment to the board's 1990 notice about the 91 license. Class D license immediately brought problems to the neighborhood. The board's 1997 order addressed late night noise, outdoor partying, insufficient parking. Patty failed to comply. The order was not enforced. The license passed to the Blairs in 2009 and the situation worsened. Noise, louder and later. More after hours outside boozing. More parking overflow impeding emergency access up our residential street, despite the no parking signs. Complaints and discussion between the board, the Blairs, and Oak Bluff residents. Ms. Hagner will remember the 2013 meeting, for example, led nowhere. So what would you want to see if this was in your neighborhood? Would you want a drunk asleep in your driveway? Would you like to be repairing parking overflow damage? What if an ambulance or fire truck couldn't make it to your house in time? Would a late night bass thump interfere with your sleep? Would you like to explain the name to the young children who now live across the street? We relied on the board's 1997 order when we decided to purchase our home in 2001. Lack of compliance and enforcement has adversely affected our property value and along with our sleep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm Martin Adkins. I live at 1421 Oak Bluff Road for over 12 years with my wife. A lot of things have already been said. The way I see the pub, it's an anachronism. A tavern that went back many decades, and then when we had the nearby residents, the street filled in. It's R5, and the pub no longer is an appropriate entity to still be there. Plenty of complaints going back. The thing is that the applicant is saying we're going to do all this wonderful stuff. It's like, okay, you can't do anything about the parking. The lot's not bigger. There's no place to get more parking. If they're able to make it a going concern, they've got to have lots of people come. And the only reason they come for these nights is because there's music, loud music, and thumping till all hours. The part that I only recently, became informed of was whether or not the LLC could even hold a license after the LLC was dissolved, in which case this shouldn't be a transfer, it should be an application for a new license. And then, of course, Planning and Zoning, who reiterated what they said back in 2022, that it's a residential use. You should not be able to have music within 100 feet of anybody, nearby residences, and there's 5 of those. I've wondered since way back in 2021 when Ms. Smith bought the place whether she's had buyer's remorse. She contracted for it in March 2021, closed on it in August 25th, but on June 24th of that year applied for the license transfer and attested on a notary form that SNS was the existing property owner, which was not correct. Maybe that's why it got postponed at that hearing on August 10th. We don't know.
Sorry, time's up.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else speaking in opposition?
Dmitry Yusupov, 1441 Oak Bluff Road. We recently bought this house, just recently moved into this beautiful neighborhood. We do have a minor with us, actually, who represents kids, and we love the fact that over the past year he had an opportunity to play with other kids in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful family-oriented place, and now recently we just learned that apparently this place, which if you come by you'll see it's just a rundown building, which is like, I didn't even know it's going to be a pub or anything like that. Will be reopened, and this is not what we signed up for when we bought the house. I'm just worried that the price of the housing in this neighborhood will go down, because this is really was a wonderful place for kids to play around. My wife, she's going to work each day in waking up at 5 a.m. and she's also present here with me with support, going against of this. And we believe that till 2 a.m. is kind of insane having our house 100 feet away from this place. We're just asking not to renew the license, please. Thank you.
Give your last name again, sorry.
Dmitry Yusupov.
Sorry, one more time.
Dmitry Yusupov.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Again.
Okay, anybody else here to testify in opposition? Okay, nobody else? Mr. Hurdle, we'll turn it over to you for rebuttal if you have anything.
The concerns addressed are real concerns. I think that they're all things that we anticipate addressing in some capacity. I think the 1997 restrictions, when enforced, and I think the liquor board, this isn't to speak ill in any capacity of previous liquor boards, but I can tell you that I've been doing this for about 11 years and enforcement has changed in that time. I assume it's changed significantly in the last 27 years. My anticipation that these concerns will be addressed, if any of these restrictions aren't followed, the board's either going to bring them in a violation or there'll be a protested renewal at some point in the future, and I anticipate the board won't have very high tolerance for any sort of stepping out of line, especially given the proximity and the neighbors' concerns. The noise, the parking, the hours, again, all very realistic. Our anticipation is that the hours will not be 2 a.m. Right now, that's what's open to us. That's why we don't want to tell the board something different and then expand. We really do anticipate it being probably midnight just about every single day. Fridays and Saturdays, maybe a little later, probably earlier on Sundays. The noise, my clients and I have had extensive discussions about what sort of insulation can be put in the walls, code requirements, what is allowed by code. And in terms of the parking, all of the signs, things of that nature, absolutely will be addressed. We do plan to target people who live in the neighborhood. That's where we plan to bring in the most people. These are people who can walk there. They're not going to need to drive over. They're not going to need to drive home. Shouldn't be making much noise. And we do plan to follow the restrictions in terms of parking enforcement. I think the requirements are every 15 minutes it's enforced. And from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. or certainly the last hour of every evening, someone in the parking lot trying to prevent any of that loitering that was such an issue in the past. It sounds as if management of the location hasn't been ideal in many circumstances. My client isn't who used to operate. She plans to address all these things. And again, we plan to have the meetings once a month. If it's required, we'll have them twice a month. The little concerns can be addressed at those meetings. Ideally, those issues won't even make it to the board. That's what we're hoping for in it being approved. It is a neighborhood place, and we've heard overwhelmingly in support. And the people that have concerns, we plan to address those concerns whenever possible. If the board has any further questions, we'd be happy to address them at this time.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you for your patience. I only have a couple of questions, and then we'll check with the commissioners and see if they do. When the one gentleman, Ms. Smith, was testifying, and he talked about the name of the place, and he brought that up.
Yeah, he's not asking you a
No,
question,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
He's just
I'm speaking to Ms. Smith, but I asked her about your question. You shook your head no. As to...
If I may address that, Chairman.
Yes, of course. Please, Mr. Hurdle. Yeah.
It's something that I noticed on some of the letters of opposition, that I guess the trade name isn't something that everyone's very fond of. I spoke to my client about that. Her explanation to me was that this was a sentimental name. It sounds weird. A car accident with her mother, and it has taken on a sentimental value since then. I did indicate to her that if it's possible, we would like to look into, I anticipated the board and the community might want to look into a different name. The application was in. We don't want to try to change too many things kind of at the table. If it becomes a concern, it continues to be a concern. It's something we will absolutely happily address in whatever capacity is needed. we don't want it to be, it's not a funny joke on the community. It's of sentimental value to my client, and we will change it if that's something that is brought to our attention and needs to be done. That's not an issue.
Thank you. And I was not trying to get you, Mrs. Smith, to even address the name, but it seems to be a very sensitive spot in and around the community. And, you know, it's something that may behoove you to think about or address. But my concern is the fact that you bought an establishment that's has some age, and it's my understanding you intend on putting a fairly large amount of money into, you know, renovating this and getting it to a point. And you do, and I want to make sure you do understand that whatever you do has to pass all of the codes of Anne Arundel County. Now, I know being an agent, you're pretty familiar with some, if not many or most. But you have not only the building codes, you have the fire marshal's office, you have the health department, planning and zoning. You do have a license that has been kept active under something that goes back and was grandfathered in for quite a long time. And that addresses some of the comments of the audience, but at the same time, these are all things that you will have to deal with at one time or another, if not tonight, in the future. I do want to read something to everybody, and that is, in the case of a transfer, and that's what this is not a new license. If it was, it would be a totally different story. But this is a transfer, and under 211, transfer A, and transfer of ownership at the same location, the only issue the board shall consider is the fitness of the applicant to hold an alcoholic beverage license. So, and this is a transfer, and because of that, we, the board, are restricted on that particular paragraph at this time. Now, I'm sure if this license is granted this evening, it is due to the fact that the board has decided that Mrs. Smith Fitness, as far as holding a license, was acceptable. If it comes to a point where in the future you need to address some of your issues and things, there are paths out there that can be followed, and we're not here to give legal advice, and I'm not going to do it. But please be advised that tonight, this board, myself and these two commissioners, are here to rule on the fitness of the applicant, which is Mrs. Smith. With that, I have no further questions for Mrs. Smith. And thank you, Mr. Hurdle, for answering the one question that I had in reference to the name.
Commissioner Duffy?
Commissioner?
Do you have any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops? No question. All right. Mr. Chairman?
All right, we're going to make a ruling on this tonight. I'm sorry, we can't take any questions now. It's.
There's going to be questions.
No?
You said there's going to be a question.
I said Mr. Hurdle would have the opportunity to ask questions. You don't have the opportunity as a member of the public to ask questions. If the chairman has questions, he could ask questions, but I don't think there are any further questions.
You said there was going to be a question, a chance to ask questions.
Sir, I believe that Mr. Perrelli has answered the question. If we could please move forward.
Okay, what I'm going to do based on 211A and the purpose of this hearing, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we accept the transfer in Mrs. Smith's name. I'm looking for a second.
I second.
Okay, thank you. I have a second. Any comments or anything? Okay, I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's done. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
The hearing is for November 12th, 2024 is now over. Is that all right?